Hello everybody, welcome back to Scores, Goals, and Touchdowns with Mr. Pat. These past few weeks we've been trying something different each time. We just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. We're going to try a little something different this time again. We're going to stick with all the big story this week with Jim Tressel. We got these guests, they're staying with us for the whole show. Introduce us to Phil Hook, LC Gayton, who is a noted Detroit sports enthusiast, and graduate of The Ohio State University, or Nowacki. All right, like I said, the big story was Tressel. A little background information. He stepped down on Monday after this article came out in SI. SI called them and let them know the scandal went a whole lot deeper than they thought. Tressel had no other choice, stepped down. That's pretty much the big story. The article says it goes back to the 80s when he was assistant coach, followed when he was at Youngstown State University, and all the way up until now at Ohio State. I read the article, guys, with his image. It surprised me. It was a little eye-opening.
Well, to be honest with you, the only time I was surprised was when the news initially broke. After that, anything else that came out, I knew already going into it. I mean, this article never told me anything I didn't know yet. And Tressel made a mistake, and he's going to have to pay for it. And unfortunately, the article never mentioned any of the good things he did. And I understand why they didn't. I mean, nobody wants to hear about that. Everybody wants the controversy. But at the same time, I don't think this article should be the thing he's remembered by. What defines him is all the good things he's done in his life. And to say he's a traitor, a bad guy, he ruined Ohio State, all this other stuff, I think is wrong, because he's done more for the school and the community than anyone could ever imagine.
One thing I learned in Mass Comm, first day, our teacher told us, just said, if it bleeds, it leads. So people want to read about the dirt more than want to read about the good. But real quick, Pete Carroll, he had a lot of allegations on him, but if you look at what he used to do, as much as I dislike him, he did a lot of good for the community, a lot of community work with the gangs of LA. But we're going to move on past that. Phil, I got to ask you, when news of this broke out, Tressel said he was disappointed that the little sensor in their heads didn't go off telling him right and wrong. Now, it's NCAA rules, if something like that comes out, you find out, you got to let your superiors know. Isn't it hypocritical of him to say that? Shouldn't his little sensor have gone off?
Is it hypocritical? Yes. It's something that obviously, if you know about it, you are supposed to report it. But however, Jim Tressel is kind of a father figure to a lot of these players. So he's kind of somebody who's out there to protect these players. So somebody you can kind of see the narrows. I have to protect my guys from anything that could come towards them, so I don't know where to go or what to do with it. So maybe panic set in and you didn't exactly know where to go from there.
I mean, for the kind of stand-up guy that Tressel claims to be, his little sensor should have gone off in a heartbeat. I mean, he claimed that he didn't know who to tell, but yet he could have told the compliance committee, he could have told the AD, he could have told the president, he could have told the NCAA. And he let it all go, he covered up everything for his players, and now he's going to have to face the consequences for it.
But it kind of seems like, though, it would be easier if you don't have to go up as high. If you can protect them as much as you can, you don't go as high as you have to. And that, I think, is what caused the delay and everything coming out.
And that's clearly what he did. He tried to protect his players, and I can understand that. I mean, any coach is going to want to protect his players against, people saying bad things about him. They look at the guy from Oklahoma State saying, "I'm a man, I'm 40." I mean, he was trying to protect his player from a bad article written about him. And I understand that point from Tressel. But I mean, it comes out that, he lied about all these things, and that's what's going to kill him. All he had to do is come out and be honest. And instead, he's pretty much sent Ohio State back a few years, and he's in trouble.
I think that's one of the big questions, was did he try to protect them? I think everybody wants to know, did he try to protect them because he wanted to win a game? Or did he try to protect them because he wanted them, they're his guys. He wanted to protect them because they're his guys. But I mean, ultimately, there comes a point where, if your kid, if he makes a mistake, you got to punish him. I mean, you can't continue covering up for him. I mean, if he makes a mistake, the only way he's going to learn is through punishment. Like, it's just, you can't continue. If he thinks he's going to keep getting away with it, it's going to gradually snowball and get worse and worse until it reaches a point. What, you've been covering him up for this long? I mean, what else is there?
Just ask Richard Nixon about that. The cover-up's always worse than the crime. Now, that is a fair point you bring up. Was he trying to protect his players from the games, or was he actually looking out for the better interests of the players? Because it's well documented, he takes low character guys, and he really works with them a whole lot. Like, a lot of these guys will defend them to the death. So I think that is a very fair point. Now moving on past that though, Tressel claims he didn't know what his players were doing. Do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible. I think it's hard. I mean, obviously he received an email that said, hey, your guys are in this shop getting free tattoos and selling their stuff. But it comes to a point where you can't be, you're not a babysitter. Like if you're a boss, it's the same way if you're a boss at work and you have a terrible employee. Like you can't sit there and make him do his job. Like he's a free person, he's a person, he has free will. I mean, but however, you're still responsible for that person's productivity. I mean, in the same way, he's kind of responsible in the same way. He's not directly responsible for what these kids do, but eventually somebody's got to be the fall man. Like there always has to be a person to blame when these things go wrong.
Do you think it's more of just him who Tressel just hopped on the sword for him?
He really bit the bullet for all these kids. I mean, and this comes out, a year ago, and he just says, okay, these guys did this. I got this email saying all these tattoos are getting bought and sold for things. Then, I mean, they're getting in trouble. And he looks as the good guy that, turned in his players to keep his program clean. Now it looks like he's the guy that's been covering it up for all these years. And, I mean, he looks like the scapegoat now.
All right, Phil, really quick before we wrap it up, let me ask you, is there any other way to look at it other than he's dirty?
Other than the father figure type trying to protect his players, like I said, there's really no other way. I mean, if you look at the allegations that, some of the items that were at these tattoo shops had his signature on there, he was autographing things. There's no way that he couldn't have been totally ignorant of the situation. He had to have done something.
All right, thank you guys. We're going to take a quick break and come back for the second half. See you then. Hello everybody, welcome back to Scores, Goals, and Touchdowns. Mr. Pat, Phil Hook, LC Gage, and Tom Nowacki back for you. This figurehead of this, outside of Tressel, has got to be Terrell Pryor. He's one of the big reasons this made national news. Pryor, where does he go from here?
To be honest, I don't care as long as he's not on my team anymore. The guy has done great things for this school on the field, but off the field, he is just a liability at best. He can't keep his mouth shut. They don't put a microphone in front of him anymore. He says the stupidest things, and you can't. The kid, he's in his own world. Like he believes this world is his, and he's entitled to do whatever he wants. So if he never takes another snap at Ohio State again, I'm okay with it.
He also believes that everybody kills and murders people. Dabbles around in murder.
I mean, he's a complete moron, and it was evidenced best on Sunday night. They have their big team meeting right before this article comes out, and he shows up in a brand new car in dealer plates, speeds out of the lot, and then it comes out that his license was suspended in February and apparently was reinstated. I mean, this guy is the epitome of moron. I mean, all the scandal going around Ohio State, and he has done nothing to help his cause, Tressel's cause, or the university's cause.
I'm sure that somewhere down the road, going up and open the fat potatoes, you can just feel it.
Marcus Russell all over again.
All right, let me guys ask you this. A few years ago during his recruitment, it was the big thing where he was going to go Ohio State, Penn State, or Michigan. He ended up actually taking his talents to Columbus to play for the Buckeyes. You being a Michigan fan, do you feel better now that he didn't go to Michigan?
I feel a hell of a lot better now because I'm sure he probably would have gotten some cars in Michigan and brought shame upon the Wolverines, just like he's bringing shame to the Buckeyes right now. I mean, I can live with Denard Robinson, and I can live with a couple years when they sucked because, I mean, hey, apparently, because not every team is clean, but they were semi-clean during all this. So, I mean, I'm glad he is not at Michigan because then Michigan could have been going through all these same problems with him getting free things and bringing shame upon them.
Phil, is he done at Ohio State?
I don't see any way that he can play there ever again.
Now, something you mentioned about it going everywhere. Like, if you want to read the best and brightest of humanity, go check out the comments section of any ESPN article. Now, a lot of people are trying to play this down, saying it happens everywhere. I agree that it does happen to an extent. Am I being naive to think it doesn't go to this length?
I think it does. I don't think something like this, if you honestly knew what was going on everywhere, I don't think something like this is that far out of the question. I don't know, like, I don't know if it's to this extent everywhere, but I don't think this is an aberration or just a one-time thing for this school, like, went way out of bounds and just started doing all this stuff. I don't think this is as far-fetched as people seem to think it is. I mean,
there's a reason these boosters are all over the place. I mean, these kids show up on college visits, and if one of these boosters gets wind of it, they're going to let them know, hey, you come here, we're going to take care of you. Regardless, that means we're going to give you a car, if we're going to give you money, we're going to, pay your cell phone bill, whatever it is. They want to get these kids to their schools so they can have a chance of winning a national championship, because that's all that matters to these guys is winning.
And if you look at it like this, bring up the age-old debate: should they pay college football players to play the game? It's something that, if they were paid, would these incidents even happen at all? If it gets brought up, you look at the NFL, they're in a lockout right now because the players feel the owners are making more than that. But look at how much the schools are making off of these players, and they're not receiving any of it other than the scholarship to play football and the potential to maybe have a career someday in the pros.
Well, I get into that later, Pat's piece. We in the biz, we call it a spoiler. But looking past that, above Tressel, you have Gordon Gee, the president, who claims he looks like Orville Redenbacher, and you have Gene Smith, the athletic director. Now, do you think anything of this will fall on them, or will they be able to point, hey, we got rid of Tressel, and then you think they'll be fine?
well, first of all, Gordon Gee does look like Orville Redenbacher. And I think as far as Gordon Gee knowing about anything that happened with this football program, I don't think he knew anything. I think he distanced himself as far as he can from the football, and he concentrates mainly on fundraising and academics. And if you look at his track record, I mean, he was at Vanderbilt before he came to Ohio State. And when he got to Ohio State, the admission standards every year were raised upon what they were before. And Ohio State's graduation rate for their seniors is one of the highest in the country. For the top 25 teams in the nation, they have the highest team GPA. And they just keep...
Surprising it's real higher.
But Gene Smith, I believe, he had to have known. He's as guilty in this as Tressel is. I believe that 100%.
Yeah, there's no way he's getting out of this scot-free. He's going to lose his job at some point too, especially when these sanctions come down. I mean, there's no way he didn't have a clue as to what was going on and did nothing to stop it.
You must read my cards. Speaking of sanctions, that was the next question. How does this turn out for Ohio State? We still have the USC ones still fresh in our minds. Do you think they'll get something heavier?
I feel that these sanctions have to be heavier against Ohio State. When it came to USC, these sanctions were based on the acts of mostly one player in Reggie Bush. Here at Ohio State, you've got up to 28 different players that they're alleging receive these improper benefits at these tattoo parlors. So there's no way that they cannot receive something worse for something that's much bigger and more in-depth than it was at USC.
Yeah, they're going to get hammered. They're going to get USC treatment, if not a tad more. They're going to, lose their scholarships and things like that, and probably forfeit a few games. But I mean, there's no way they're not getting hammered any less than what USC has.
I think USC is a worst-case scenario for Ohio State. USC got pegged with lack of institutional control, and as of now, Ohio State hasn't. So I think they'll lose a few scholarships, some games, and a bowl ban for a year or two.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with Pat's piece. See you then. Former Ohio State defensive end Robert Rose had an interesting and fair point on why he broke the NCAA rules. I knew how much money that the school was making. I always heard about Ohio State had the biggest Nike budget. I was struggling. My mom was struggling. It was just something that I had to do. I sympathize with the players. I really do. But come on, they are being paid. They're making well over $20,000 a year for an education, a place to stay, food, books, clothes, and they're getting it all for free. Now, I know plenty of people who are swimming in student loans because they weren't born with crazy athleticism. Sorry, Aaron. Now, Robert Rose, I understand why you do it. Terrell Pryor, on the other hand, different story. Are you trying to tell me he needs 8 different cars in 3 years? Come on, kind of a red flag, don't you think? Now, it's either he really didn't think anybody would notice, or he flat out doesn't care. And honestly, I don't know what scares me more. This has been Scores, Goals, and Touchdowns with Mr. Pat. No show next week due to vacation, so we'll see you in 2.